Hotep fam, this is Heru Imhotep back at you again with Giza Studios. And now, right now I'm looking over this thing that this pamphlet that the Jehovah Witnesses gave me. Basically, Jehovah Witnesses and Christians are the same thing, man. All the religions are the same thing. I'm telling you, Jehovah Witnesses, they the same story as what Christians say. And who was Moses? They still talking about Moses' mother rid him down, hid him in the Nile, hid him in the basket and sailed him down the Nile. They still talking about he was raised in the luxury of Egypt under the daughter of Pharaoh, but he never forgot he was an Israelite. Like, come on, man. Still talking about the Ten Commandments. So basically, fam, you gotta watch out. All these religions the same, man. All of them. Just all bullshit. It's time for us to wake up, know the truth, man. But Hotep fam, stay strong, Black Power. Support black business. Hotep fam, this Heru Imhotep back at you again with Jesus Studios. We in a about to have a short clip of Tupac. We go R.B.G.
With Brother Tupac Shakur, who is the national chairman of the New African Panthers. My name is Bomani Bakari. The program is indeed round midnight. Now, we all have African names, and so many brothers and sisters have yet to progress to that level. They may not understand that where they got their slave name from in the first place. Again, how important is it to embrace an African name? I'm a late arrival, I must confess. Perhaps your parents gave you an African name at birth. Is that not correct? Indeed. Now, how important, how difficult was that for you, being raised in the African American community with an African name when a lot of your friends are walking around with Barrys and Joes and Susans and everything?
I believe that the New African Panthers are about serious freedom, really reaching out and embracing serious freedom. If you truly want serious freedom and serious liberation and you want to have self-determination, how can you do that with the name that somebody else gave you? You know what I'm saying? The name from a person who didn't even respect you. You know? So when my mother gave me Tupac, I felt as though she literally liberated me at birth, cut the ties off of me at birth, and set me free. You know, set me on the path to righteousness. And with Tupac, growing up with that name, you know, when I was a kid, I did stupid stuff. You know, what's your name, Joe? I didn't want that bright star within me, you know. But now I embrace it because it gives you character. You know, every time I say, what is your name, Tupac? I have to say, what does it mean? You know what I'm saying? Why is that name? And it's good. It gives me a chance to express myself and express what I'm about, what I'm going to do. With a name like Joe, who cares what it means? You know what I'm saying? It means nothing. Joe Schmo, you know what I'm saying? So what it does actually is liberate you and lets everybody know that you're breaking those chains that this whole society has put on you when you came here. They gave you the wrong, they gave you a wrong religion, your wrong name, wrong, you know, switched everything around and put you in the society. So basically, I think
you heard it. Gave you the wrong name, wrong religion, which means the religion that they gave you was not ours. I mean, Christianity is ours, but they stole it and twisted it. You gotta understand that, and that's what most people fail to realize. But you know what I'm saying?
I'm not trying to put anybody down when if your name is Joe. I'm sorry, but
or if it was Joe.
Yeah, if it was Joe. But on the strength, it should shock you. It should make you feel depressed, and it should make you feel bad inside walking around with some other person's name. You need to drop that and liberate yourself and really pick your name up, because they told you your name was stupid when you came here. That's a dumb sounding name. You know what I'm saying? And so now you okay, Joe, Jay. You know, so pick it up. You know what I'm saying? It's about that time. It's about that time. It's not all about just having an African name, because I met the sister, you know, she said, my name is, you know, Jody, but I want an African name, you know, because it's the end thing now to be positive. But don't just get an African name, get an African brain, you know what I'm saying? It's all about educating yourself first. You know, don't walk around with that name if you can't defend the ideals and if you don't even know your culture, you know what I'm saying? So It's not all about just
knowledge is self.
Akinyele or Tupac or Yaki Caesar, it's all about
Romani or whatever, right?
It's all about having the brain to back up the name.
And also, we could extend that to the wearing now of African, yeah, you know. And a lot of brothers don't even. My own son, and I can't even, you know, throw stones without letting him come home. He wanted one. I say, son, can you name me 10 countries? He couldn't, so he didn't get one until he at least named me 10 out of the 26. That exists. So it's important, again, that we know and recognize who we are as Africans before we, again, can embrace that whole philosophy. But that's a good point, and it's well taken, hopefully, by a lot of brothers and sisters out there who are still walking around with the slave master's name and refuse to give it up for one reason or another. And I guess that brings me to my whole point about throwing off the shackles of Americanism. As young brothers, how have you managed to do that? I mean, you see, the society has said that you all are crackheads, that you all are baby makers, that you all are criminals and felons, and gang banging and wilding, and whatever part of the country that we find our brothers and sisters in, there's a negative connotation. Again, you yourselves personally, what's inside of you that makes you walk away from stuff that your peers perhaps are into on a daily basis that you may know?
Well, all praise to Allah. He gave my mother the foresight of, you know, what this country would give to me and try to instill within me. So she gave me much history starting from birth. And so I was raised knowing that I came from a great culture and a great people. And I was raised loving, you know, my people, and knowing that we was meant to do more than stay high and get by. So it wasn't like, it was never no doubt. It was never any doubt in my mind whether or not, you know, I came from a great race, and whether, there was no comparison with the pale, you know. So getting by is hard, you know. I'm not gonna lie to you, you know, going through the streets. Every time, you know, because a cop will stop you. They stop. If you're black and you're walking, and, you know, you get stopped. So they always stop us, you know, they'll question my friends, what's your name, what's your name, what's your name? My name is, you know, Anthony. My name is Bada, and I had to go, oh my God, what's your name? Tupac Amaru Shakur. And they go, hey, where's your ID? What are you doing here? Extra special harassment for me, because they know I'm not getting high, you know. They know, and that's why I want my new African brothers and sisters to know that, because if you have that name, if you have that brain, that idea, they know that you positive. They know that they should fear you. They should be scared of you. So that's what it's all about. Basically, is breaking those chains. It's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be hard, but it was hard for those before us. You know, and they did it. People made great sacrifices for us to get this far, but not for us to be weary and not for us to be scared. You know, talking about it's okay now, everything's fine. What are you talking about? It's over. You know, it's time for us to really get with it.
Facts. Watch this next one. One second, fam. You know they always gotta do that.
Mr. O'Connor, what is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish this?
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith.
Exactly, nigga.
You this way.
That's
If
all right.
a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or white background. And a yellow person, Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to walk around with these names. And therefore he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once, his grandfather or one of his forefathers was owned by a white man who was named Johnson. If his name is Bunch, his grandfather was owned by a white man that was named Bunch.
Would you mind telling me what your father's last name was?
My father didn't know his last name. My father got his last name from his grandfather, and his grandfather got it from his grandfather, who got it from the slave master. The real names of our people were destroyed during slavery.
Was there any line, any point in the genealogy of your family when you did have to use the last name? And if so, what was it?
The last name of my forefathers was taken from them when they were brought to America and made slaves. And then the name of the slave master was given, which we refuse. We reject that name today.
You mean you won't even tell me what your father's supposed last name was or gifted last name was?
I never acknowledged it whatsoever.
Let me ask you about the status of Elijah Muhammad. First of all, is he ill?
I spoke to him today. He is in better health than he has been. He's suffering from asthmatic bronchitis.
Is that why he didn't attend your rally on last Tuesday?
The only reason that he didn't attend was his ill condition, and the weather here, especially on that particular day, was of such nature that it would have been almost insane for him to come.
Well, now, did you hold that meeting last Tuesday because it coincided with the general election, the primary election?
I think if you study the history of Mr. Muhammad's work and religious work in this country, we've had our convention on February the 26th every year for, I think, the past 33 years.
It's when he was still a Muslim.
While you don't care to discuss your former name or the name that the slave master gave to you.
He later got knowledge of self.
It is a matter of record that Muhammad's last name was Poole, Elijah Poole.
No, that's the name that his slave master gave to his grandfather or great-grandfather, but that's not his name.
Well, his mother and father thought when they called him Elijah Poole that was his name.
They didn't know any better.
Well, if they didn't know any better or not, they thought that was his name.
Yes, sir, but sir...
What I'm trying to find out is when did he cease to be Elijah Poole and get to be Elijah Muhammad?
In 1931, I think it was, in Detroit, he was taught the true history of our people and made aware at that time that he was wearing an English name, and by not being an Englishman, he looked out of place. And his teacher gave him the name that he's wearing today, Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad.
All right, now when did he become what he purports to be in your literature, the son of Allah?
I've never heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to as the son
The
of
prophet
Allah.
of Allah.
I've never heard him referred to as the prophet of Allah.
What do you refer to him as?
Messenger of Allah.
All right, the messenger of Allah.
Get it right.
I appreciate the correction.
Yes, I mean, he says that a prophet is somebody who predicts the future, and he's not predicting the future, whereas a messenger is someone who carries a message that has been given to him by one who authors that message.
Well, now, who gave him the message, and to whom is it supposed to be delivered?
Master W.F. Muhammad, the one who taught him, is the author of the message. He gave it to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which makes him the messenger. And he's to deliver that message of truth and righteousness to the 20 million American so-called Negroes, which means he's to teach us the truth, which will awaken us, and then show us how to live a life of righteousness, which will automatically qualify us for recognition as human beings by all other righteous human beings here on this earth.
Well, now, one other question. With reference to what Mr. Hurlbut asked you a little bit ago, you took a very moderate position of wanting independence without having any hatred for the whites. Do I understand that correctly?
Hatred is not involved in it whatsoever.
Well, I recall in a recent plane crash, 2 or 3 years ago, or less than that, a charter flight on Air France in which a group of people from Atlanta, Georgia, were, as they say in the business, as they took off from Orly Field. And
What,
you were
nigga?
quoted at that time as expressing great gratification that this tragedy had occurred. Do you recall that?
It's white dudes.
I recall it.
Sorry.
What did you
It
say?
was,
Do you remember?
The press misinterpreted,
Caucasian.
misrepresented it.
What did you say?
They said that it was made at a Muslim meeting. It wasn't. It was made at a rally of Negroes, Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, and otherwise in Los Angeles, who were rallying to protest the brutal shooting of 7 unarmed
All the
Negroes
religions
by
came together.
armed white policemen in the city of Los Angeles. And because we are a people who have been taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to never carry weapons of any kind, but to get on God's side and rely on God to fight our battles for us, at the time that these brothers were shot down so brutally, I pointed out at the funeral of the brother who died that God would step in and take a hand in giving us some form of justice for the brutal killing of our brother. And when the plane crashed in France, I pointed out to the crowd at this rally that this was an act of God showing his wrath or complete resentment over the brutal form of injustice that had been inflicted upon our poor unarmed brothers.
Were you saying that, or do you believe that?
At that time, Dr. Billy Graham was in a crusade in Chicago, and the press, your papers here in this city, quoted Billy Graham of also saying that plane crash was an act of God. And if you take time to check the newspapers, I think that you'll find that this is correct. But no one thought that Billy Graham was so wrong when he attributed the crash of this plane to his God. But when we say that it come from our God, then we're looked upon as being, outrageous.
I know, but you took the position that this was a matter of satisfaction to you for an injustice done against you, and I think that that's a trifle severe.
We did not think that it was a coincidence that 120 of the whites on this plane came from the state of Georgia, a state that has the